Welcome to another episode of Spotlight with Darrell Taylor from Co-Treetment. A really interesting episode, this one. Darrell's business is really a non-for-profit and it's looking at trying to reduce the impact of climate change on a local basis. Give this a watch, great initiative and an easy way for you to give up some time or a small amount of money to make a difference to climate change in your local area.
I worked abroad. When I came back to the UK, I wanted to do something and get involved in other things outside of work. And I started off being a governor at a primary school, so I was a parent governor, and that went on through being a cooperative governor, then vice chair, and then I chaired for a few years. And I had a plan to get out of that at one point in time. Kind of enough was enough. And I was looking for something else to do. And I think, like a lot of people always dream about, when I win the lottery, I would do this, I would give money to this, I would do this, I would do that. And a lot of the time I always used to think I'd do something charitable, I'd like to help these people or do this good cause. But it sort of dawned on me that I was coming out of governors. I've always been really driven, and I've always had this, like everybody, I want to do something good for people, but I don't need to win the lottery to do that. I don't need the money side of things. And then I sort of had this idea and got some mentoring, a little bit like what you're saying really. You're doing something to give back and to help people and to help promote them, and sort of from your corporate social responsibility side of things. And there was a company that really supported me in the same way to get this off the ground and get it moving. But it's never been from the point of view as this is going to be something that I can pay the mortgage with and I can get rich off. It's always going to be something that costs me a lot more than I put in. But if the end result of that is that there's a whole field of trees and then another one and another one, and I can't envisage loads of little woodlands here, there and everywhere that people can go and enjoy and walk around, but all of those trees are doing something good, then I'm leaving something far better than anything else for my kids and for the future generations. And that's what I want this to be. The 9 to 5 pays the bills, and this is about something beyond that does something good for everyone. I was cynical. I always, because it was like the greenhouse effect, and then it was global warming, and now it's climate change. And throughout all of these times, I remember seeing on the news, the sea levels are going to rise, and the Maldives are going to be flooded,
turtles are going to die.
Yeah, and it was all doom and gloom, and then it didn't happen. So I think for a while, there was maybe like an understandable reason why people didn't buy into it completely, because so much of the news stories, and I think a lot of the studies might have been valid studies, that if this happens then that, if this happens then that, but the news never said that if this happens. They just went straight to the then the worst case scenario. They never said that if we don't change, if something doesn't happen, if cars carry on producing emissions at this rate. So all these shock headlines, and being younger and reading them, I didn't read the core parts of the story, and I didn't look deeper. The news didn't help me understand properly. So I did open uni for years, and it was all kind of physics and natural studies and things like that. And I learned a lot more about it there, and the carbon cycle. And like you said, trees capture carbon, and that's how they grow. They are just a big carbon store. And when you cut them down, turn them into logs and burn them, all of that carbon just goes off tenfold, and the same making paper and all the other things. So
the perfect
way to pull that back in is plant more trees. It's not one solution for everything, and it's maybe like a short or medium term thing, because in the long term we need cleaner energy, cleaner vehicles, cleaner electricity and things. But between now and when we get that clean power and infrastructure to support it, all we can do is offset, and offsetting is going to be through planting trees, through pulling water out of the ground, through pulling carbon out of the air and storing it in nature. And frankly, like our site that we've got where we're planting trees at the moment, the amount of birds and the amount of wildlife, and we've got badgers, and you see examples of where there have been foxes in the fields, and it's quite a nice thing to do from that point of view in general. We are making a nice little habitat, we're doing something good, and nature's thriving on our we've got just over 1 hectare at the moment, so it's really nice. A lot of the time businesses have premises, they have land. I mean, somebody must own this site and they're maintaining the trees, and you're going to get storm damage and things like that. And where people don't want to take that responsibility themselves and directly plant trees here or wherever they're based, like where I used to work, we would have trees go down, we would have storm damage. We used to have tree surgeons coming in and trying to prop up some trees and then cut down other trees where they weren't able to save them. Then what we're doing is providing a service where we can replant those trees off-site for businesses, so that then they don't need to worry about the headache on their particular site. They don't need to worry about paying people to come in and maintain it all the time. They can say, look, our trees have been damaged, they're not able to be saved, so we're going to remove that tree, we're going to replant 1 or 2 or 3. That way their sustainability, their environmental footprint stays neutral. They've not sort of taken away from nature, if you like. They've actually put something back, but put something back in a place where somebody else will look after it, somebody else will maintain it. If it does fall down in a storm, somebody else will replant it for them. and it's guaranteed. Whereas a lot of companies that offer planting schemes, the trees aren't guaranteed. In fact, some of the companies don't even guarantee that the trees go in the ground, in the soil. They distribute trees to things like beavers or scouts or rainbows or schools, and they'll send a number of trees, but there's no follow-up to make sure those trees went in the ground.
And they lived.
You just don't know. Were they planted? Did they live? Did they survive? Were they planted properly? All of ours are dipped in a root grow before they go in the ground to give them the best chance. We planted around about 1,000 trees before we had a drought last year. And when you plant trees for the first 2 years, it's a drought that will kill them. After that, they get a little bit more hardy and durable and robust. But for those first 2 years, and we had a drought, around May time in 2020, and just after May, June, I can't remember exactly.
May.
And we were taking big IBT containers, the bulk 1 ton containers, and driving them over and watering the trees. And it sounds crazy, but we were filling them up, driving them to the land, and then friends and family were helping water every single tree. And 1,000 trees, 1,250 trees by the time we were done. It's a lot to water, and we were doing it multiple times just to make sure that, because we have a commitment to our customers that the trees are going to be there in 20 years' time, and if they're not, then I have to make sure that they're replanted each time. So I don't want to replant all the trees because of the drought. I had to get water to them. It is a funny thing to get into. I mean, trees, they're not the most exciting thing. We're not talking about Formula One or jet planes or something. It's trees. But it's so satisfying. When you've, because I was never into gardening or being green fingered or anything like that. This is something that I've kind of come into and is new to me. But when I go to the land and I see the trees, and we planted them, and when we planted them, they were this high. And now they're about 1.4 meters, or as tall as my kids. And when, again, you put them in the ground, they're bare root trees, so there's no leaves, there's no anything. You're planting a twig.
Yeah, it's a twig.
And when you're really proud to see when they do grow and they flourish, and they look really healthy. People that run businesses know it's not the money. It can't be the money that drives you. It can't be you or anyone. It just can't be the money, because eventually it might come, but between the start and then, you are going to be worse off throughout. I'm really target driven. I'm competitive. I'm target driven, and I need a goal, and then I'll shoot for that goal. So in my private life, I've climbed Kilimanjaro. I climbed Mount Elbrus on my own. I did that solo from scratch. I did it the first time I tried Elbrus. I failed. I went back and did it again, because I am driven, but I'm determined. If I fail, then you stand up and you do it again. You learn, you take your lessons, don't you? And that's the same whether it's business or something personal you do. Before that, I raced motorbikes for 10 years, so I've always been really competitive. And right now, it's getting this business to work is what's driving me, that's the goal, and it will work, because there's no, failure is not an option. And the same as Elbrus, if it doesn't work, if I fail, then I'll just come back and do it again and make it work the next time. But because I think one of the things that maybe stops people from starting businesses is that they're worried that it'll fail, and what people will say or what people think, and this guy failed. But I never experienced any of that, because everybody that I told was really supportive, and friends want you to succeed. If they don't want you to succeed, they're not a friend in the first place. So friends really, they do care, and they'll put the money where the mouth is. And the amount of people that said to me, "Hey Darrell, as soon as you've got land sorted, whenever you're planting, let me know, I'll be there and I'll plant with you." And I can't think of anyone that didn't say that, to be honest. And because of COVID, it was really difficult to get people to help planting at the point in time we were doing that. So, but in the future, the amount of offers, and not just that, through the governor stuff at the school have said, "Hey, can we come over? We could do some forest schools, we can get the kids planting." And for me, that's just win-win. It's the social side of thing, the supporting the community. But at the same time, there are armies of people out there who, if you ask, they'll do it just because A, they want to help you as a person, and B, because it's something good. I don't think there's any issue in kind of, mobilising the troops to do something good like this. People will just do it. They'll do it because it's the right thing to do. And some of the other companies that plant, they plant in Scotland, or they'll say, one that I read about, they plant out in Vietnam, or they'll plant out in South America, where labour's cheap. And especially if you plant, I plant only native species to the UK, but if you plant bamboo, actually it absorbs more carbon. But what I find is, over here we generate carbon here. We're not doing it in Vietnam or South America, and I'm all for planting everywhere, so don't take that the wrong way, but we should be doing something on our doorstep. And if these vehicles out here that are driving around, their emissions are there, So we should have
tree
as
over there,
close to here as possible. So that's kind of what makes our business
need our air
unique.
to be cleaner where we are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what makes us unique. Is none of our trees are being planted anywhere but here. I'm here for the East Midlands, for Derby, Nottingham, Leicester primarily. You know, they're the 3 counties that are closest to where we're planting. And the idea is that if for the local businesses in our area, your carbon footprint is here on your doorstep. You know, on the way here, I drove past the power station, so I know where we all get our electricity from.
Yeah, so
you know, why not do something here on our doorstep, make a difference here? It's no good planting more trees in the Amazon to offset things that are happening here in the UK, because our carbon doesn't magic itself over there. And maybe on the global scale, it's all making a positive impact. However, if you want to do it more sensibly, more logically, you would absorb close to the source, right? And that's what I'm trying to do, and that's one of our unique things is to absorb that carbon where it's created rather than in distant places here, there and everywhere. I think you're right, COVID it's changed so much for how you're aware of your environment. And you know, I don't know about you, I've got a couple of kids, so I've been working from home constantly. So, and I've, you know, I remember my dad went to work and he worked long hours and stuff. So, you know, I came from a normal family background, but my dad wasn't around as much because he was at work, because he worked long hours and stuff. Whereas we're in a really privileged time because of COVID, in the sense that we've all been able to spend so much more time with our families. And when the tiers have allowed, that has been, you know, you go around your local area, you're not able to travel big distances, nobody's going off to work, so you go into the local park, you go into the local countryside, and I think everybody's a lot more aware of the importance of having nice spaces, having nice places to go, being out in the countryside and seeing it looking the right way, and having walks in nature to go and experience. We are making sure that as we plant, there are walks around the woods, and there's a public footpath that goes directly along the side. So when we have finished planting in that field, there'll be just a path that goes all around the woodland, and we've even got a couple of memorial trees in there already with benches and little plaques and stuff. So, you know, for people that have planted memorial trees, they can access the land, they can go along, they can have a quiet moment with, you know, the little one that they don't have anymore. But for everybody, you can just go and walk your dog around and enjoy it. And hopefully for those people that are living near that particular area, they can go and enjoy our little plot of land. The one thing that I have to pay real close attention to is, you know, not every tree survives. I wish they did. I'd be kidding myself though. And actually, I've seen real differences in the way I plant versus the survival rates.
Yeah, I bet, yeah.
Yeah, so...
and like the slope and the drainage in each spot, it'll change across the land.
We've planted in 3 different areas of the field already, and to begin with, we were planting using an auger, a handheld one to dig the hole. Augers polished the edges as they go in, so we had to really make an effort to make sure that once the bare root tree was in, you know, we'd packed it with soil, we've done the root grow, everything's good, but the roots need to be strong enough to go through that sort of polished wall from the auger. So we've had to learn there. From a point of view of land, from a point of view of planting, from a point of view of absolutely everything, it's been a massive learning curve. What I learned is nothing goes to plan at all. You know, you have to start off with plans, you have to have an idea, you have to know what you're going to do. And I had all of these steps, and everything was going to be slick, and you know, nothing was slick, but adapt, isn't it? You know, you just have to roll the punches and make it work. I've got an idea, and I'm putting it into practice and pushing it forwards. But it is all those businesses that say, yep, I'm going to do something, I'm going to offset my emissions. They're doing something for the environment in that grand scale, and they're doing their environmental policy and their corporate social responsibility, and they're ticking the boxes from that point of view. But really what they're doing is they're making a real physical, tangible place that people can go and enjoy. And it's almost from a business point of view, that's completely forgotten about and ignored. You know, nobody is thinking, I want to make something great for a local community. They're all thinking, you know, I've got this many kilograms of carbon through the vehicle fleet, you know, my electricity bill is this, and no one's thinking actually a byproduct of that is this beautiful place that in 10, 15 years is going to be magnificent. And hopefully lots of them. It's nice to see them go from tiny to here, but you're right, to actually walk through a woodland where all of the canopies are above your head, and you know, not that you're ducking and having to dive to get through, but comfortably so you can walk and you can have a real nice, you know, we do that, you know, with kids, you go for a walk all the time. So it's going to be really nice. But like I say, to probably 10, 15 years before they get to that kind of a height and that fully established and really nice.
And it's a wood. It's a full-on like wood, which people would be able to go like and walk their dog forever.
Absolutely, with little benches here and there. It's going to be really beautiful.
Thank you for watching this episode of Spotlight. Darrell spoke really passionate there about co-treatment. Let's just give him a sales plug really. If you want to plant a tree, it costs you about £4 to £5 and you can make a difference to the East Midlands area with a wood that people will be able to walk their dogs and their family in forever. Go check him out, Co-Treetment.